animals in intensive units is the biggest cause of animal cruelty in Britain today, and every single factory farm represents a public health threat. The global trauma caused by COVID-19 must be the tipping point. Our recovery means instigating an urgent shift away from unsustainable animal agriculture. And we're calling on worldwide alliance of individuals, cross-party political leaders, scientists, NGOs, and business stakeholders to support, implement, and accelerate the transition towards a plant-based food system and healthy, prospering ecosystems.
Justice now.
I find it's really important to have regeneration time in between activism. Like it's so heavy sometimes on your mental health when you're constantly reading news articles about essentially the apocalypse and the collapse of society. I think yoga is a great way to get out of the mind and come into the body and to center yourself. And I also do a lot of meditation, and I think just generally trying to take self-care when there's so much heavy science and disturbing material. Alongside that, I also speak to a counsellor. I have counselling for eco-anxiety. I'm not sure what the future looks like. It's looking pretty grim, so it's making sure I've got the coping mechanisms to deal with that effectively, and to make sure that activism doesn't completely sabotage my mental health, and there's some space left to do what I can and be a productive part of the movement.
Here we are at Parliament Square, somewhere that we've been told we can legally protest. We're overwhelmed by officers currently, and the officers are now telling us that we have to disperse, even though we've been told we can legally protest in Parliament Square. Literally the only thing we're doing is holding a banner, exercising our democratic right, trying to expose the truth. A guy that was just speaking on a megaphone has now been told that if he uses a megaphone again, he could get arrested. So he's literally just exposing the truth about the animal agriculture industry.
I think it's from some kind of movie, right? But I'm just not entirely sure, but it's just in my head.
Growing up, I wasn't particularly environmentally aware at all, and learning about meteorology gave me some awareness, but it wasn't until I had my medical revoked and really studied the science that I understood why Extinction Rebellion were taken to the streets. And when COVID happened, that was a final straw for me, I decided to become much more active and decided that I'm no longer going to return to flying passenger jets. This is much bigger than my career and my chosen job. So it's been quite difficult. A lot of people don't understand why I do what I do and why I'm giving up flying. Especially some of the former pilots I used to work with that don't believe in climate change. All I can do is try my best to educate people, and if they're not willing to listen, then there's not much more I can say, unfortunately. But I feel like it's really important to try my best. So that's what I do.
Extinction Rebellion! Extinction Rebellion! We're just going to hear a brief summary of just a few of the amazing things that have happened in the last 2 weeks in Manchester, in Cardiff, and here in London. And then we're going to set off. 200 people were unlawfully arrested. It's hard. I know, I feel that. It's hard. But whilst they were doing that, the police were so distracted that we managed to glue the gates to Parliament shut.
You don't name and shame, so I won't mention the Home Secretary's name. But in a time where the moors caught fire last year, in a time when there was flooding in Scotland and Wales on an intergenerational scale, at a time when the suicide rate for males in their 40s in this country is at a 20-year high, the Home Secretary thinks that XR is the emerging problem. So I came today to this place because I know that there are many men in this place, and there are mostly men, but there are many men in this place who are very unhappy, who do not like the system, who are looking for a way out. I plead with all of you, join us. Join us!
Kind of, yeah. We've got that, and then me and Catherine want to go out and get something to eat for like dinner, and then I'm going on a date. Yeah, I'm going on a date. Yeah, but I'm free like tomorrow. Oh, isn't that annoying? You'll never get to like know the irritation of when your eyelashes clump together and you can't do anything about it. I work a couple of different jobs. It's not really like a full job. It's very like makeshift to kind of keep living. So I host workshops and do speeches. I'm a student studying history and politics. I also work as a trustee at a like social change funder. And it is kind of like a weird mismatch of things, but it kind of like allows for me to continue doing the activism with XR, since for me that's like my main job. But it was also it's a very free labor job. Yeah, so sometimes I get sent magazines from all over the world which I've featured in or done interviews for, and yeah, so because sometimes with this activism you're so kind of enclosed into your bubble, the people who you engage with about the climate, that you don't realise how far-reaching your work goes. But yeah, this is a magazine that I got from China called Within. They did like a piece about like young activists, social change kind of stuff. So there's loads of them. The rest of them are like a lot more artsy than me, but I thought it was quite cool just to even look at the photo, and the production value of this magazine is quite amazing. And it's like the voices of the youth and the next generation. This one's also a nice one. This one is about birth strike. So birth strike is basically people who see climate change happening and have to question whether it's the most, like personal choice, obviously, but whether it's the most, like, whether it's the best thing to have kids. That's, yeah. So I'm a birth striker. I don't think I'll have kids till I see if I see meaningful action on climate change. I don't, by the way, just to make sure, it's not about population or the myth of overpopulation. I don't believe in any of that, and I feel like you're flirting with eco-fascism when you get to that side of overpopulation stuff. But for me, it's just, I don't know, when the world is coming to, like, have you even seen the news and seen the fires in California, the red skies, it's almost like end of days kind of things, and to bring new life into that, I personally just don't know whether I could do it.
day, maybe in sort of September or October, we could
Put a B on that.
do a day.
B somewhere.
We could do a day of printing at Ridley Road in Dalston. Because we've got loads of spare t-shirts, haven't we? This block was actually originally carved by a person who lives around the corner from me in Dalston. So he carved this by hand, and then basically it's been scanned and developed into a 3D print. So actually, Extinction Rebellion has got lots of these blocks now, which have been produced by a 3D printer. So it's a sort of example of how, I guess, we're using technology to increase the amount of artwork that we can do. A lot of the people who've got involved in Extinction Rebellion are people who've, really tried every other means possible to tell our government that we need to change and we need to transform our economy. Decades of action and protests and political action through the normal channels have been unsuccessful. So hence the sort of more sort of extreme tactics of civil disobedience.
The government have betrayed us. This is a slow clap for Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings.
You'll find people from almost every single country on earth, and one of the amazing things about this sort of fairly humble looking street is that if you knock on the doors of each house along here, you'll find somebody from a different country. We worked in South Africa as doctors for a year and a half, and then we came back and got married, and then settled into life in London. So we've been living here for 10 years, but then we also took a year out and went back to South Africa again to work for another year.
This is what we take on protest marches. You're going to plant it in the ground. Let me give you a hand. Oops, it's broken. There we go. Right, should we go in?
Climate is about political will, whether you would like to or not, because we have been warned for 30 years now that we need to do something. We were literally like 2-3 years ago given a deadline of 10 years that we need to do something, and the way, Donald Trump totally saying climate change is not real, but half of the country's burning, so it's one of those. It's like, whoa, when you see stuff like that happening, it's super hard to have hope.
I've seen too many dead children in South Africa to sort of feel really emotional about this, but I know it's the right thing to do to campaign as hard as I possibly can from climate change, because I've seen the science, I've seen the graphs, and I know that scientists aren't lying. I've seen the data, and it's not good. It's not looking good for our future, the result is that we have to act. We have to change. A lot of people use this sort of analogy of us sort of hurtling towards the cliff edge with our foot on the gas, and we're accelerating, and we need to not just take our foot off the accelerator. We need to slam the brakes on hard.